to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Rand Dunigan.
And today, well, I don't know what today is. Today we have this fabulous prize for all of our great listeners, but no, I don't got anything.
We do? Well, I hope you got something planned, because I don't got shit planned.
Shit, no, I don't know. Fuck, I just watched some movies, and it was exciting, and,
I was following you, and like, oh, he's probably got something planned, so I was just gonna follow your lead.
No, my theory at first, well, it's like one where it's like, oh, we're gonna do this interview. Oh, I guess we're not gonna do this interview today. Oh, let's do this retrospect. I guess we're not gonna get this retrospect going too. So it's like, well, we'll just come on and do a little casual episode of some sort. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have this particular, I won't say his name yet. Hopefully we'll have this particular guest on next week. But, not regarding that, we actually, something we can talk about briefly is, well, first off, let me say, we see it ourselves. This is episode 360. It's such a lost opportunity. We should have planned this out like, dude, best 360 games, but who knows?
Well, we can do that real quick. We'll do like a little, like, just kind of like, right off the top of your head, what's like your top 5 favorite 360 games?
Top 5?
Because, you know, 360 was a really good system that I feel kind of, like all Xboxes, I feel like Xbox sort of gets forgotten as time goes on real quick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody really ever even brings up Xbox Original anymore. Like, once in a blue moon, you'll see somebody say something about it, but it's almost kind of lost. And that's almost the same thing with Xbox 360, I noticed. Everybody talks about PlayStation 2 and 3. You know, people always mention GameCube and sometimes even Wii. But nobody really ever... The Xbox ones, for as popular as Xbox is, just kind of disappear. But maybe that's due to the... I think the Xbox fan is not nearly as, like, hardcore as, like, the PlayStation and Nintendo fans are. Because I think an Xbox fan's more like, almost like... I don't want to use the word casual gamer, but it's almost a little bit more of a casual gamer system. I know that feels like that just dogs that... Anybody has an Xbox, like, oh, what the fuck, man? Casual, you call me the casual gamer? Like, no, I just think it sort of just attracts the people. They're like, I'm not in it for, like, the historical, like, significance of the system. I just want to play some games.
Well, you got first-person shooters on, like, PS4, but I feel like Xbox is more first-person shooter focused, and, I mean, their icon for a while was Master Chief, so, and, I don't know, they kind of Crash Bandicooted him to the curb right there.
I know, they sort of like, I'll get them at a point, you know what I mean? Like, you know.
You can show up every so often. I don't know, I guess if I had here's the thing, I guess, I mean, I just pitched that idea, and now that I'm facing it, I'm like, shit, what is my top 5? Because I'm thinking about, there's a lot of, like, third-party stuff that all came to both systems. So I guess if, you know, I'll say, okay, Arkham City, Red Dead Redemption, I don't want Microsoft to feel left out here. Gears of War 2. Yeah,
definitely Gears of War on there. And 2 is probably the one to go with, because 2 is so special. I mean, they're all great, but...
Gears of War 2, you know, I never played Halo Reach, even though everyone tells me that one's amazing, but I never played Halo Reach, so...
Halo Reach is pretty cool. I mean, it felt kind of almost like an expansion pack, because it was, like, really short. The game was only, like, 5 or 6 hours long, but the whole 5 or 6 hours was, like, as dialed in as you could get.
I just remember a thing for Halo Reach was... That's when... I mean, they're not nearly as pushy as they used to be, but GameStop used to be so, like, militant, like... I think they had like a chip implanted in the back of their neck, so if they didn't make X amount of sales or pre-orders, the thing would go off and they would explode or something. Yeah. Because
and then they just bring out another one from the back and then like pull them out like the saran wrap, and then they'd like wake up in like 5 minutes.
They just like, you know, just revive them, you know, just like a clone of the same guy. Just like,
It's like Cloud Atlas, where you just see all the workers kind of in the back. They just got this like revolving like coat rack looking thing.
Like these tubes going to their neck, like this gives him all the nutrients he needs. Now get out there and sell.
Yeah, sell, my children, sell.
Well, no, because they would be very militant. Like they'd get on like one guy would be like, "Hey man, you want to get the new Halo Reach Master Pack?" I'm like, I'm okay. Well, this is a special like $200 edition, man, and you're really be missing out. Like, nah, I don't need it. Like, oh, you sure, man? It comes with a statue of Master Chief. It comes with like a fucking comic book. It comes with like the game also.
If you're into
just
that.
Goes, yeah. And then like the same guy was like we called him the Red Dead Redemption guy because he was always this guy who was he was like, it was weird. He kind of like had like he was like skinny fat, and what I mean by that is he's like a skinny guy frame, but had like did not look healthy and just had like these weird. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. You're more of a fitness guy. You can explain it better than I am, but you know what I mean when I say this.
Like you see this in like life, and it's like one of those ones where it's a guy like their whole body's skinny, but they got this gut. That's like the only thing fat on them is this gut that they have.
Like it doesn't make the rest of them thicker. They're skinny and just this like almost kind of like African kid with a diseased gut, just kind of sticking out, and then like with a pair of cone tits. Like, well, what the fuck, you know? But the rest of them is skinny. It's like it didn't really all like just get a little fatter or thicker. It was just this section of them, just like it's all right here, and it's like, oh, it's off-putting.
Well, that's how a skinny guy gains weight. Like, you know what I mean? They'll never get, like, fat. Their stomach will just get larger and larger. I mean, one time I saw an old man who was, like, as skinny as, like, a basketball player, but his gut was fucking, like, he was holding, like, 6 basketballs under his shirt.
Yeah, that's always the weird thing.
It's so so weird looking.
It's like, we don't know where to go, so we're just going to focus it all right here. But no, but the Xbox, but this guy, he was always like, he always wore this Red Dead Redemption shirt, and he was just so confrontational about, like, no, dude, you need this, you want this. So.
Well, just to add to your kind of list, because a lot of those games, like...
I guess Injustice is probably a good one.
Yeah, there's another good one there. I would say Fallout 3, now I know...
Oh, how can I forget Fallout 3? I'm sorry, I cut you off again. Fallout 3, there's my list. Okay,
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, since we're doing it off the top of our heads, that's why I'm going with not, like, just pure exclusives, just more like, what were, like, good experiences I had on just Xbox 360. Resident Evil 5, would I consider that generation's probably my favorite game on there, you know, between PS3 and Xbox 360. I would say, this is the one because I've been waiting for this game for fucking ever, and I don't think it'll ever come out on Xbox One or anything else, but it's Scott Pilgrim, the game.
Oh, that's a good choice.
I think that's like the best like download you could ever have on that system, and or PS3 too. It's just so good. One of the best beat-em-up games of all time. Let's see, what and I'll say Castlevania, Lament of Shadows, both of them. Or not Lament of Shadows. Lords of Shadows. Combining Castlevania titles together. Lords of Shadows, both 1 and 2. I both had a grand time with those as well. But, yeah, 360 was a cool system. And you know what? It was the perfect, like, poor man's system at the time. Because PlayStation 3 was like, hey, you got an extra couple $100 to spend? No. Well, I guess you could get a 360 then. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why is it less? Well, it doesn't have a Blu-ray player and it doesn't have a hard drive. Oh. Well, you get a little hard drive pop on the top there. Oh, okay, I guess I'll just go with that. And that was the whole reason why I got that over PlayStation. That was like literally like why I chose. It's like, oh, it's $200 less? Okay.
They do seem to have this power struggle where they go back and forth because like PlayStation 3 came in and PlayStation 3's like, we're the cool kids on the block. We're $600. We're fucking worth it. Fuck you. You will pay for this. Xbox comes in like, hey guys, $200 cheaper, not a big deal. If you want the hard drive, you can. If not, no big deal. We got memory cards for that too. Whatever. Just come on by. And then total role reversal at the E3 where they revealed Xbox One and PS4.
Yeah, I know. And then it kind of switches. And the weird thing too is like in all of history, the most expensive system has never ever done better. That is like the one. It's like for some reason people don't learn that, which is it's kind of a bummer at the same time because you know if you do have a more expensive system, obviously you're going to get cooler games and better experiences and so on. But it's funny, it's like that just doesn't pan out. You know what I mean? Like you go back and like let's go in like the '90s, early '90s, you get something like the Neo Geo, which is like
$900.
Well, it's like it's more expensive than like a Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, and like a Sega CD combined, you know? So it's like, oh crap. But you get the actual 100% arcade games at home. So there is something kind of cool about that. And I know, like, you know, nowadays, really, if you want the expensive system, it's like you get a PC. It's like you can put all the money you want into it.
I'll say that's a thing that doesn't really cross your mind so much as a kid. You just like, that one has Sonic on it, so I want it. Mm-hmm. And then, at least to me, it didn't cross like, oh, they're gonna cancel this thing because it's not selling. That never crossed my mind, like, because my thought process was, well, they already made it. They said they're gonna make more games for it. Why would they lie to us? Now it's one of those things where, oh shit, these things could, because you know, I mean, there's other systems, of course, but the only ones I ever heard about was just Nintendo versus PlayStation and Sega, and then everything else was just kind of like, then suddenly Microsoft got on the scene. All the other systems kind of fell by the wayside. But it's one of those things where now it's one of these things where I'm very cautious about what system I get, just because I'm like, all right, is this thing gonna fuck up? Because I really don't want to spend like $400 on something they're just gonna stop making games for a few years down the line, like they did with the Philips CDI. I mean, that was one of those things. Like this thing, it was expensive. I want to say it was like $600 or something, and they only made like released 12 games for it. Like, yeah, this thing's not fucking selling.
Yeah, they made a lot more than that many games. There's probably like almost 100 games for systems like
really?
that. Yeah.
For the Philips CDI? I thought there was only 12 games.
No, there's a lot of games for the Philips CDI.
I just need to shut the fuck up, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great system. I actually like that one quite a bit. But
really?
those are adult
I've never seen any games I never saw any games look that fun on it, though. Whenever I see people play a Philips CDI game, it's always one of those really bad Zelda games, weird Mario game, or like Eugene Levy's Golf or some shit like that.
It's like, 'cause that's the only ones people ever seem to talk about. But there's, there's a lot of ports that are like good versions that are better than Sega CD or they're on that same Sega CD quality, but better than Genesis, better than Super Nintendo. But those systems were made for adults in a time period where I don't think enough adults were playing video games. That was like the whole point of a lot of those systems coming out at that time period. They're like, well, you know who we're gonna get? We're gonna get the adults. So if you're fucking living in Silicon Valley and you're like 25 years old collecting a fucking huge paycheck at that time period, this was the system for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I imagine that system probably offered a lot to be a lot of like point-and-click adventure games. Imagine it was really, like, those kind of things really flourished on there.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, those kind of PC-style games on there and so on. But yeah, it's just like those ones. The most expensive system never wins. Another example is in the later 90s. You got the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation. The Sega Saturn's $100 more than the PlayStation. You saw how that went. I bet you anything, if the Sega Saturn would have been the same price as PlayStation, I think that could have been a completely different turnout.
Saturn, to me, just didn't have, like, a bunch of games that jumped out to me even as a kid. I mean, there's Virtua Fighter, which was cool, but my biggest thing for Sega was Sonic, and they released like Sonic 3D Blast, which you get for the Genesis, and then they had that really, I mean, at the time I think it was well praised, but that weird game Sonic R, and beyond that just Sonic Jam, which is just a collection. So it was just, it seemed kind of weird. The mascot, the flagship character, was just like, he's kind of here, Florida.
Yeah, well, it's like they attempted to make a game for it, and they just never got around to it, which is kind of
Sonic
a shit.
Extreme.
Yeah, and it's just one of those ones, like, it's kind of a bummer they didn't do that. Like, more what the Sega Saturn was, I consider that it was almost kind of like, at least at the start, it was a little bit more of the hardcore gamer system, because it was like, we got perfect port arcade games. Like, what the fuck do you want? We're gonna make these fucking fighting games fucking badass. Street Fighter, X-Men, Marvel vs. Capcom, or not Marvel vs. Capcom, but, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and so on. And so you had this big old line of this stuff, and it was like, oh, this is fucking sick if you're, like, into these kind of games. But, it's like, as time went on, the PlayStation was able to take over a lot, the bigger titles. They got Resident Evil on there, and, then they started getting, like, Final Fantasy and so on. So that's kind of what changed the tide. I mean, in the long run, I think PlayStation is the stronger system to Sega Saturn, but Sega Saturn still is totally awesome.
Yeah.
And that's one of those systems that has, like, a lot of gem games that never really get brought up too often. They never really get re-released. Where, on PlayStation, you can always still kind of pick up a lot of those ones. Like, where Sega Saturn just has some really cool stuff that kind of just got lost in time.
Sega has just a lot of characters and franchises just sitting in a vault, and Sonic is like the one, like, I feel like just trying to keep it shut, like, no, it has to be me in the front, you guys stay the fuck in there. Shenmue, you can come out once in a while. Jet Grind Radio, you can be DLC shit for some of my games.
Yeah, I know, it's such a sad thing, too, because it's like, how we say it, Sega has way more characters than Nintendo, but they just don't utilize any of them anymore, it's such a bummer.
Well, they really just kind of make them like, oh, that didn't go as planned. Kick them in the corner. Where Nintendo, like, we'll try it out for a little while. Sometimes characters. I mean, Star Fox. I think they'll bring another Star Fox game eventually. Maybe not right away, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like that's going to be a long time off because it's just like Star Fox just hasn't. Every time they've made a Star Fox game, it just does not do very well. And they're like, shit, we've tried this like 5 fucking times. And every single time people bitch and moan about some feature in the game. So I can just see them going, fuck it, we're not doing it anymore. You know what? Fuck you and your Star Fox. You're not getting that anymore. Because think about it. Star Fox Adventures, people are like, oh, it's what? You gotta run around like a rare game? This is fucking stupid. And then, Star Fox Assault came out, which I think's fucking awesome. You think's awesome. But I remember people were already bitching about stuff in that game. It wasn't like the game's hated. None of these games are hated. It's just people don't... None of them have jumped out like Star Fox 64. I mean, even the DS one had its weird, like, tactical mission things. And then as you get on to even the Star Fox on Wii U, for some reason people are like, I don't like the controls. I have to look up and down. It's like, you don't have to fucking do, but it's on the screen right there. I have to look. It's like, no. You can play the game like normal Star Fox, but the screen. It's just like, they're lost. It's like, it was almost like trying to get like, a special ed kid to like kind of like, no, you just look at this screen. But there's two screens going on. It's like, no, yeah, I know. That other screen's more just kind of there to be kind of cool. I mean, once in a blue moon, maybe you're going to shoot down like on a special mission, but that's about it. There's two screens. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Can we get some fucking black? Can we get some electrical tape here? We're just going to cover the bottom screen for this guy.
It's like it's like the one kid where they grab a Nintendo 64 controller, and to be fair, when you grab a Nintendo 64 controller for the first time, you're like, wait, what? Oh, okay, I grab it by the middle, then the right on most games.
Uh-huh.
But
you mean those
be
people
the
that
one
grab
kid,
it from the middle and the left? It's like, oh.
and they're just like stretching their thumb out to a ridiculous level to reach the joystick. Like, dude, you're not supposed to hold it like that. Well, why do they have these two handlebars on this side? I'm like, it's
two different types of games.
I don't know why, dude, but it's kind of made to be like this. Like, yeah, but it's just, I like it this way. Like, this game sucks so hard. Just like, oh, you're holding the controller like a fucking idiot, dude. Just grab it by the middle thing. Like, no! Like, those kids are so fucking, like, dedicated. Like, this is what I know, so I'm not changing.
Oh, that's totally the Nintendo thing right there, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just that thing where it's like, the 64 is like, oh, this will be cool. You could play both 2D games and 3D games. And that just does not cross people's minds that they have to switch the left hand and or right hand, I guess, if you're...
I can actually kind of see that laying down, like, early foregrounds for some of the shit they did with Wii, in the aspect of kind of like, okay, if you hear it looks like a little controller where you hold it this way, oh, it's kind of like an old school NES controller. And then, same thing with the Switch. Like, you got the little Joy-Con things, but then you just turn to the side. Like, oh, now it feels awkward. But now you can play this tiny little controller on a 2-player game. You can play it that way if you want. Mm-hmm. So, you can kind of see, like, maybe I'm not sure if it was intentional, but kind of like the 64 controller kind of being an early inspiration for that. Like, oh, you just play a different way. Same system, different game.
Well, it makes kind of sense because, like, I mean, like, sort of like the complaint to, like, I guess between, like, an Xbox controller and a PlayStation controller is, or at least in my opinion, is I always thought PlayStation was never good for joysticks. I just never thought that... I finally, by the PS4, I felt like they kind of got it dialed in. And it's not that I can't play with it, but I just feel like there's one comfortable position, on a controller generally. And it's like with a PlayStation, I feel the D-pad is its comfortable position. On an Xbox, though, the joystick's its comfortable position. So, technically, D-pad games are always going to be better on PlayStation, and vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
But...
No, I get you.
The 64, like, they kind of, like, thought that out, like, way before anybody was even putting joysticks together on a PlayStation. They thought it out, like, oh, we got two different grips.
Well, 64 controller, I'll say this. It was one of those things that one of the few times the game's like, no, you don't use the joystick, use the D-pad. So the thing's like, what the fuck? Why is it not... Oh, okay. Oh, Mischief Makers. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's like Mischief Makers, and all the fighting games like Mortal Kombat and so on, you use it there. I mean, there's not, like, a ton of games, but... It is still kind of cool when it is, and plus, I almost kind of like how like massively large that D-pad is.
Yeah. Speaking of video games, we should actually probably, because we didn't actually have a chance to talk about it, because we were at the Comic-Con in Lodi, which we'll cover later. But we both went to go see Ready Player One. Speaking of this video game stuff, and didn't have a minute to talk about it even at Lodi. So I'll say this: Did you ever read the book at all, or parts of the book any?
No, I didn't care to.
I'll say this. I read part of the book. It was one of those things where I was part of like this book club, and it was just one of these things where, okay, well, we're going to read this thing. I got a couple chapters in, and I was like, there's some good ideas here, but this thing is kind of tough to choke down. So I just kind of looked up a couple of synopses, listened to parts of some audiobooks of it, and then just kind of like skimmed and read like more important parts of the book. Like, okay, I got the gist, or I can go in there and act like I know what I'm talking about. Then I get in there, I'm like, oh, I'm one of 3 out of the 15 people that actually cracked this thing open. So I'm off the fucking hook. One person actually finished it.
See, that's the, like, what kind of fucking book club is that? Like, that's clearly the most undedicated book club.
It's not a very dedicated book club. It was just people from work that were just kind of looking for an excuse to get together and drink. And that's essentially what it was. We'd open up with a book. Yeah, this one part. Like, oh, what kind of beer is that? Oh, it's this new kind of IPA. Oh, cool.
I feel like you need more of a movie club if that was, like, the case. You need something that's a little bit more easy access for people. Because some people...
Yeah.
Generally, people that drink don't go like, oh, you know what I want to do is go home and read a 400-page book.
Yeah, same thing. I like reading, but this particular book, it was one of those things where there was some good like stuff they laid down out for it, and I was like, that's interesting. And like some of the exposition, the way the world was set up was interesting to me, but it was literally kind of that super panderish kind of I know everything there is about 80s nostalgia, and I guess my thought process was, all right, for this world, it's a computer world where you can do anything, why are we stopping at 80s nostalgia? Sure, it makes little references to 90s stuff and maybe some modern video game stuff, but most of it is 80s nostalgia, and it all kind of hinges on your knowledge of 80s nostalgia, and that's what kind of gets them through it. So when I heard the movie was coming out and Steven Spielberg was making it, and I was like, well, I didn't hate the book, but I wasn't in love with it. And granted, to be fair, I didn't totally read it, like I just said. I just kind of got the gist of it, went back, read certain major chapters and certain parts, so I know the layout of it. I'm more of like, pretty much a well synopsis of it, more than just beat for beat every little thing that happens. Mm-hmm. But, so hearing Spielberg was making it, like, well, Spielberg's making it, that gives me hope. Then I saw the trailer, and I was like, it doesn't look amazing. It looks super panderish, but I bet it's going to be decent. Probably won't be amazing. That'll be decent, though. And I'll say I'm very happy that I like this movie way more than I thought I would. I like it way more than what I read of the book.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the same way I thought, too. Because it was one of those movies where I'm like, the only thing that's really bringing me into this cinema is Steven Spielberg. If it wasn't for Steven Spielberg, if it was just some random-ass director, I don't know if I would care enough to go out of my way to see it. And it's just one of those ones, like, it just reminds me of, like just by the trailers, it's almost like what I consider, like, the bad use of references. It's just like you're throwing a reference out just to try to, like, sell a seat. Now, granted, if that works to fill up your theater, well, you did your job. I mean, whatever. A lot of times you can cheat your way to the top. But I feel like as an art form, you're kind of like, really, you can't create your own original stuff. You just got to, like, use everybody else's stuff. Be like, oh, it's Back to the Future. Or, oh, it's the Iron Giant. Or, oh, look, there's a Gundam and everything like that. But the nice thing about this movie is Steven brings it around to being, like, he walks the perfect middle line that it never falls into being just, like, utilizing other stuff just to kind of like just throw out a reference. It actually is all kind of like logical. It goes in like an almost like an 80s 90s Steven Spielberg type of movie, anything like Hook or well, not Steven Spielberg, but it's got kind of like that Back to the Future feel. He produced it and so on, like that.
A little bit of Goonies,
yeah, like
vibe
Goonies
to it.
In there as well too. Like it had that, and even though it's funny because it even went for like 80s stereotypes, and I thought that was like, you know what, that's fine. Like, why not? I mean, it's a futuristic movie taking place nowadays, and I'm surprised haven't heard anybody go like, oh my god, this is terrible. Well, this movie's just filled with stereotypes, and I was just like, no, it's like the two Asian guys, both a ninja and a samurai. That sounds about like, what you would expect back then. And back then, that wouldn't have been considered like Asian stereotypes. Like, dude, we're representing the Asian community here. What the fuck's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, we could have just filled that spot with just a bunch of white guys, but instead we decided to put two Asians in there and, show people culture. And even like, of course, it's like, the big guy in the movie is like, yeah, I'm cool. What's going on, bro? It's like, turns out it's a black person. It's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, I probably would have mixed that. But the one thing is, I feel like I would have mixed that around. I think the big guy should have been the little Asian kid. I thought that would have been like, oh yeah, because that's like almost like here's this little Asian kid, and he makes his avatar just a big tough like guy, and it's just like almost like he's so smart that he can like talk this way, even though he's only like 11 years old, and kind of role reversed it. But it's not a bad thing. Like I'm not even complaining about that. It just sort of made me laugh when I saw it. Just kind of like, oh my gosh, they're just following old school like 80s stereotypes that everybody else probably would have been, like thrown out and burned on the cross for doing that nowadays. But for some reason, it's okay if Steven does it.
I haven't seen a whole lot of that, but that was something the book was really kind of criticized for some of the same stuff, but people are kind of turning a blind eye to the movie because I think they like other aspects of the movie more. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've just out of curiosity, I looked around and I saw some people who didn't like the movie, but I can tell I generally probably agree with most of this person's criticisms anyway. But as far as a lot of criticisms towards the book, I totally understand, because the characters, they just seem like the character Wade Watts, he seems way more of just kind of like a pop culture dispensing machine, just spitting shit out, and he's a lot more kind of nerdy. Like there's a scene early on in the book, and there's a scene early on where the movie can't get all the exposition in there, but essentially it says that, oh, well, schooling became so much trouble that everybody actually got like a free headset from the government, and for other better versions and expansions, and for money you can go to other planets, but you have to build up for that. You gotta be rich, you gotta pay into that, but you could at least go to like standard things like, school, into this little virtual reality school. And there's a part where he goes in where he and the character H, I think, are having this whole like debate about, hey man, Ewoks are lame. No, bro, I don't care what you say. Ewoks are awesome. Whatever, bro. Just going back and forth as if it's like really cool talk, and they're all like looking for like Holiday's Easter egg. And then this one kid who's like, oh, here's this total noob. And this guy comes in like, oh, you know what? I think I found the newest clue. It's in this game Joust by so-and-so. You know anything about Joust? Oh, and then like, it almost had like, there's other kids watching, and it almost turned into like this thing, like, they're just debating each other, like on 80s pop culture shit and video game pop culture shit. And like, that game was developed by Ron back in 1985. You did and I'm just like, oh my god. I'm just like, this is, and then like you have this like peanut gallery out of like, you know, Fast and Furious, or like Step Up, like, oh damn, oh shit, like in the side. I'm like, oh fuck, this is literally, because it's like that really bad nerd stereotype shit, but it's almost just like, fuck yeah, dude. And that's how at least that part of the book came out. I'm like, this is gonna be a thick dick to choke down. But
well, that's kind of funny that you bring, because that's kind of like, I mean, here's the thing. Those conversations happen. It's not like those things out there. And it's like, I know that's like kind of almost what the writer's like, that's what me and my friends did. We just sat around and argued about pop culture stuff and who made what and did that. And I'll say it's like, there was a time period in my life where I felt like that's all we ever did was sit around and argue about movies and so on and video games and whatnot. So I understand where it's come from, but it's just funny when like you try to make it out like, oh, this is going to be like, we're going to give it up like that Step Up feel. But instead in the future, this is where people just start like throwing out like old school, like, you know, factoids about games and movies, which is almost just seems a little like, okay, like that just always tries to make yourself feel like, oh, you know what, in my world, we'd be the coolest people ever.
That's how it very much came across in that scene, and I was just like, this is kind of tough to choke down right here. This is kind of tough to choke down. But I'll say this, watching the movie, there's some little things they got in there without, like, cause in the book they get across that he has to go to this little underground bunker. He has to sit on a little like elliptical bike and just pedal away to like power up the little generator thing. That's how he has electricity in there, and then that gives him like an hour or two to go and do the game. And you don't show that in the movie, but you see the little elliptical bike there. So you can see, like, okay, well, for people who really give a shit, they did their research. I think this movie, it's funny because it makes a giant homage to The Shining in the middle. But I view this movie kind of like... I mean, I love The Shining way more. But I view this movie kind of like The Shining. It took the concepts, it's just focused in on what was good about it, changed a few things around, and made a good movie, rather than just like, how am I going to jam all this weird, crazy shit into this? Because I think The Shining has a little... It's not a horrible book, but I think there's some shit in there that's just... The garden hose has teeth. Ooh!
Yeah,
you know?
and I've always felt that too. It's like, I think that The Shining, the movie's way stronger than the book. And I know some people that are like hardcore book people are like, no! It's like, well, it's not that The Shining's not good. It's a good first draft. Stanley Kubrick kind of put it all together. That's how you know what I mean? I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's how I feel about sometimes Stephen King books. It's like, you read them and you're like, you know, it's like, there's a cool stuff in here, but it's just almost a little bit too clustered, in my opinion. Like, and sometimes you get the movie and it's like, okay, now they just sort of dialed that in a little bit more. Not every single movie, but like a lot of them, that's how I kind of feel, and The Shining being kind of an example of it. But with Ready Player One, what really reminds me of it too is like, I know this appeals to like all of like 10 people in the world still, but like, there was a movie that our friend Nate made back in high school called Joe and Brian's Wicked Adventure. And I kid you not, like this is that kind of thing where like you would have looked at back then. It's like, well, it's in high school. We're like, yeah, this is fucking awesome. But you could just see where the parents are like, what the fuck is wrong with them? Why are they making this stuff? But lo and behold, this is exactly what Ready Player One is, just on a grand scale. It is the exact same type of movie, because all that movie was just like, there was Joe and Brian, and they were running through, and everything was all 80s references in a sense. It was Star Wars, well, 80s to 2000s, I guess, because there was Matrix references and Lord of the Rings references in there, you know, and Terminator references and so on.
Legend of Zelda music.
And yeah, and that's all it was just references galore. There was Ninja Turtles references in it. It was anything and everything that like reminded Nate of something. That's what it was. But they were all references, and that's what the entire movie was built off of. There's almost like no like really too much original stuff in it. There's some good jokes in there. I'm not saying anything about that, but that was like what it was. And it's funny because like that's like a movie that like only a couple years later you would have put off and like, God, that's just not really anything we should be doing. We should be really working on like real movies and so on like that. But once again, lo and behold, go figure, that becomes like the most popular thing right now. And it's like Ready Player One. That's exactly what they do. They just do it with big budget, tons of money and so on. I guess it's no different than like doing Let's Plays in like the 2000s before there's YouTube or anything like that, and go, is anybody gonna really want to watch us play video games? Shouldn't we be working on a real movie, like a Tarantino-like movie, a Robert Rodriguez movie, like not just us playing video games? We can't just do that. What do you know?
Yeah. Sure enough, that happens. Well, I'll say this: the book has like a scene or two where it's like, oh, okay, look, this challenge, we have to play the game Joust, but we're actually inside the game Joust. This challenge, we have to go and reenact War Games, is the Matthew Broderick character. This challenge, we got to go and reenact Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And I was like, all right, I'll say this. I like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and I have a lot of friends that like it. But there are those kids in high school that were ridiculously obsessed with Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I don't even think they even saw any of the other Monty Python movies or shows. And they would act as if that was the only funny thing in the world. That's the only thing they would reference. And because that part happens in the book, and because it happens at the end, so it leaves a little bit of this taste in your mouth when it's done, like, oh, you're one of these motherfuckers. You're one of these guys that always references, always just throws quotes left and right. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would always throw quotes out of movies, but I at least had a library. I wasn't one of those kids that always be like, let's not go to Camelot. It's a silly place. Like, what else floats? A stone! I wasn't one of those guys who would always just pull from that one fucking movie, but there's always those kids, and they're usually in the AV club or whatever the fuck, and they would always reference Monty Python, and they would barely break away from any other reference. And so when he was like, I gotta reenact Monty Python and the Holy Grail, even like their facial features, as well as their movements, I'm like, you have got to be shitting me. But then the movie does a good job. I knew they weren't going to do that, because that would be very boring. Like, okay, we were going to just show them reenacting this fucking movie. They did a good job of The Shining. They just made they just did like some weird little spook house maze with The Shining as the backdrop, which was interesting, and they changed some stuff. Beyond that, it was like, okay, the way they get these references in there, because my thought process is like, okay, I mean, I know you're kind of speed running this part, but why not watch Monty Python? Why not watch War Games? That was my thought process. But then you get to the movie, and it's like, oh, okay, well, here's the challenge. It's actually a race, but it's in Delta City from RoboCop, and King Kong's there for a second, and there's a T-Rex from Jurassic Park, and you see a bunch of... So it's more like stuff sprinkled in there in this weird collage. Yeah, it's a bunch of references, but there's still something else going on here. And a lot of the times, because it was all about, like, finding the message in the pop culture references that Holiday liked. And out of that, this was more, even though that still had a little bit of that to some extent, it was more of like, find the message, and people were actually scouring pop culture trying to figure it out. But it was more than that. It was more about like, oh, this is a little bit more personal. He wanted to go back in time and relive something, so why can't we just reverse it? Okay, spoils ahead, folks. Reverse your way through the race. He had trouble kissing a girl, asking a girl to dance at the Shining Ball, and then the real spirit of what the game Adventure is really about.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is. And I also want to say this real quick before we go any further, but speaking of, like, Monty Python, though, you know what I really attribute that, like, Monty Python, the Holy Grail craze? I think what it all came from is that DVD special edition came out, and then all of a sudden, it just felt like in high school for, like, 6 months, there was this massive Monty Python, like, craze. Well, for that one movie more than anything else.
Yeah. Well,
just sounds so weird. You don't think about it. It's like, we're going to re-release this 30th anniversary of this DVD, and all of a sudden, it's going to be a high school phenomenon.
What it had to be was a couple of dads like, oh, I bet the kid will like this, and just throw it on, and the kid loves it way more than they thought they would, and dad's all like, oh yeah, my kid likes the shit I grew up on, that's cool. He's still fucking talking about it. That's all he's fucking talking about. Yeah, I get it, the killer rabbit, the holy hand grenade, I fucking get it. Okay, yeah, go throw a fucking football.
What it might have came from, too, is it might have came from Thomas Chiquetta, who's been on the podcast a couple times in the past. Because his parents, I remember, had the entire complete, like, Monty Python collection on DVD. And I was like, what the fuck?
I'm not blaming him. He wasn't one of those
Oh,
guys.
I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think that might have been almost like one of the starting points of where it went, because it's never the person who introduces it. There's always just that person who like they just get obsessed with like one thing at a time, and that's like their only thing. Like, you know, next after they do the fucking Monty Python, they're gonna be obsessed with Firefly, and that's gonna be the only good show known to mankind. There'll be nothing else. But once Firefly gets
shiny.
Boring, yeah, then they'll get into Doctor Who, and the Doctor Who's the only cool thing on the planet, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I really love Firefly, but that is kind of like par for the course. That is kind of like those kind of fandoms right there.
Mm-hmm. But going back to Ready Player One is, I think like in the movie it's like, well, I mean, I didn't read the book, but like just the way that this movie was kind of dialed in, and I liked what was the creator guy's name again?
James Halliday.
Yeah, James Halliday, and I love the way that guy was kind of designed, because he wasn't like your stereotypical nerd. He wasn't designed and even like being like what's his name from Apple?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. He wasn't put out like kind of like a dick. He was actually like, it was almost like the Steve Wozniak guy. If that guy was the more popular guy, that was sort of like what he was. He was just the guy who just really loved technology and stories and like, you know, this kind of stuff. It wasn't really. He happened to make a bunch of. He like happened to just like stumble into making billions of dollars in the process, but like it wasn't like because of that. It's like because he just like really like enjoyed like what he was doing and just making games and making people happy. Like it had like that Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory feel. I mean, I think that's totally what it was going for. That probably is how it was sold to Steven Spielberg. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
well, I can even see
Steven's like, oh, references galore. It's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Oh, I get that. Oh, that makes sense. Steven knows Willy.
Well, not even because I don't want to beat up on the author of the book too much, because he even helped pin the script. So maybe he took some of the criticisms and changed it around, or maybe.
And it's his first book, so you almost got to say like you can't really criticize someone too much for their first work.
Yeah. And when it sounds like I'm really just ripping the book apart. I didn't hate the book. I just didn't love the book. 'Cause I heard all this great word of mouth on it, and then I was like, I gotta finish this thing within a week and a half. I'm not gonna finish this thing in a week and a half. Let me speed run this fucking thing. Get all the important stuff in there. I will say, one thing I did notice, and this is just usually the adaptations, the book is actually a little bit more R-rated, but not by a lot. Just through language. Just a lot more swearing. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, though...
That's just books in general, mostly, though.
Yeah, Jurassic Park is technically an R-rated book when it gets really down to it. Mm-hmm. Regarding James Halliday for a second, I thought that character... Because when you first see him, he looks a little spacey, like he's not entirely sure what's going on or how he's there. But when you get to the part near the end, like I'll say this, the movie is pretty predictable, but I think most movies this day and age, especially blockbusters, and especially what this thing is pulling from, it's kind of, I understand why. I mean, sometimes you're like, I totally predicted what's going to happen. Really? You did? You're so special.
That always to me bothered me.
You saw it coming?
It's like...
Really? A movie that's PG-13, a science fiction thing directed by Steven Spielberg. You saw what was going to happen. You knew. You figured it out. Oh boy, you're so ahead of the curve.
Well, it's like I always give movies credit whenever they'll throw something and they're like, well, I didn't fucking see that going. You know, kind of like Pacific Rim 2. It's like, oh, Charlie's fucking a alien? Shit. I didn't expect that. I was like that was not what I was expecting when I was going into this movie. You know what I mean? So it's like, every once in a while they can throw those curveballs at you, but for the most part, I never dock a movie for being kind of predictable, because most of the time it's like, shit, after you've watched like 10,000 plus movies, and plus played video games and read books and every story known to mankind, it's like, that's not even what I don't even care about a movie being predictable. That's like that is the least. I just want a movie to be fun and enjoyable at the end of the day.
The only way this movie, I think, would have thrown me a curveball is if it's like, we fucking lost, and he just hangs himself out of, like, depression. I think that's the only way.
Captain Republican was the guy who fucking won. He's like, I fucking did it! Suck my dick, you little bitch!
Just kill that whole fucking trailer park!
Yeah, I want to see all those kids fucking hung outside of my building so no one does it again! Send a message to the youth!
We'll beat him like a fucking piñata. Like, if that's how it ended, like, oh, shit. Wow, I didn't see that ending coming. I mean, generally, so when people talk about this movie, it's very predictable. It's like, no fucking shit, this movie's gonna be very predictable. And it's one of those things, you could say it's predictable, but it's when people have, like, this snooty, like, arms crossed, like, yeah, like, I didn't see that coming. It's like, yeah,
I didn't see Mechagodzilla coming out of nowhere like that.
I didn't see that. That was surprising.
And then when I thought about them, like Mechagodzilla versus Gundam, think about that. Have we
versus
ever,
Iron Giant?
Have we ever seen that in a movie? No, and that's almost like what kind of was like the thing. It's like, yeah, that's using references and just kind of exploiting them, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I've never seen that before, like in a big CG movie and so on. That's kind of cool. Like, you know what? I give it that. And the thing about this movie, too, it's like, it's not really it's more of almost like a cartoon than it is like a live action movie, because like 90% of it, or maybe 85% of it takes place in the like the game, in the Matrix style, you know, in the Tron world, pretty much. And, you know, it's just like, there's just cool stuff in there. It's like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Like, why bitch about something that's kind of neat? I mean, like, where else are you going to go get fucking Godzilla versus Godzilla? You could go find that, but I mean, where else are you gonna get Mechagodzilla versus a Gundam? You know what I mean? Versus an Iron Giant, all at the same time, like in one scene.
Yeah,
directed by Steven Spielberg.
Because I'm wondering how much of the movie. I mean, I know that Steven Spielberg. He's like the. I'm going to say he's the biggest director in the world. So,
yeah, by far.
I think he's the name people always reference whenever someone says, "Okay, Mister." It's very rarely, "Okay, Mister Coppola" or Mister. You might get Mister Scorsese. It's never going to be. Okay,
oh, and look at you thinking who's you're so special making your Vietnam movies.
All right, Mr. De Palma or whatever. Yeah. It's never going to be. So it's like, you know. So it's always Mr. Spielberg. So I think it's safe to say he's the biggest director in the world. So he's probably a little bit more ahead of the times, a little bit more up to date with like, okay, what's popular right now to some extent. Whether he's into it or not, I don't know. I could see a lot of that though being kind of like, what's the stuff we have the rights to? Well, I think we should throw in some King Kong, some classic RoboCop, you know, that'd be cool. And then everyone's like, what about Sonic the Hedgehog? What about Street Fighter? What about Overwatch? Like, yeah, you kids throw in what you want. It's fine, you know, okay. We'll just throw them in there. But we got the rights to these characters, toss them in there.
Well, I think Steven Spielberg is one of those people that like he is into like sort of like I think the game world a bit more than like your average older person, because he has always been like sort of like curious about multiple video game movies throughout time.
Which ones?
Oh god, what is it off the top of my head? Because wasn't he one of the producers like initially for Halo?
Peter Jackson was.
Well, yeah,
maybe
Peter
Spielberg
Jackson
was.
But I'd have to look that up off the top of my head. But I just know that he has been curious throughout time for certain like video game movies, and same with like even comic book stuff. Even though he's never really done that either.
Well, I guess technically it's like, well, we never had him do a comic book movie. Well, we had him direct like a bunch of. Technically, he just directed a big handful of DC characters with Spawn as well as He-Man and Sonic the Hedgehog. I saw this movie again last night. I did see Sonic the Hedgehog in there.
Oh, was Sonic the Hedgehog actually in there?
Yeah, there's a scene when they're at the portal. When he's given exposition of what the world is, you see a line of people going into some portal. You see him standing in line, tapping his foot, like being impatient. And then at some point during the big battle, you see a blue blur run by and then jump up in a little ball and like hit somebody. Oh, that is Sonic. Okay.
Oh, that's cool then. Okay, well here we go. Here's some sections of where Steven Spielberg was involved. He is the creator of Medal of Honor.
Oh, I didn't know that. That makes sense. That's very Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, he was involved with Trespasser, the Jurassic Park game. He was involved with let's see what else is there. There's some other. He's somehow in some way involved with Boombots, that fighting game on the PlayStation that I remember Kyle had. He's involved with, you know, there's just certain ones on here, just like a couple Goosebumps games and so on. Oh, and here's Halo.
Oh, he was involved in Halo. Okay.
So he was going to do something with Halo in 2013, and that didn't happen. I knew that was kind of there. But, so that's the kind of thing, though. I think Steven Spielberg is one of those kind of guys who is always a little bit more ahead of the times than most people. You know what I mean? He's not one of those ones where you're just sitting there like, oh, what's with these kids nowadays? What's with them? Don't want to come see a movie called The Post? Like, those fuckers, like, they wouldn't even know an education if they had it slapped in their fucking face. Like, I don't think he's that guy at all. I think
he's not that guy. He gets it.
He's like, yeah, The Post is made for people that are 70 and over. Shit, if you show up and you're under that age, you know what I mean? Like, that's cool. Not saying anything against that, but that's not who it was targeted for.
Don't get me wrong, I liked The Post, and I actually like this movie way more than The Post. I like this movie. I'm going to say this. I like this movie a lot, Ready Player One. I just assumed that I walk out of it like, oh, it was decent. But I got a feeling that The Post may have been a passion project, and this may have been the one like, oh, this is fucking easy. I mean, the script, it's kind of like the shit I used to make, to some extent. And then I just got to have these fucking nerds animate it for me. And then I got to spend maybe 2 weeks in a fucking trailer park directing some kids, and then at some point they got to run away from a guy with a gun. The guy doesn't even shoot him at all. So
shit, maybe we'll just give him a radio in his hand instead.
The explosion. The explosion's gonna be fucking CG when he runs away from the fucking trailer park. This shit's fucking easy.
Got this one in the bag, you know? Well, that's like how it is. Like, the Post is one of the movies, like, it's a good movie, but I call it, like, it's like a one-time watch movie. Like, I don't ever really see myself going by, man, you know what I gotta throw on right now? The Post.
He's gonna text me, like, one night, like, dude, what are you doing? Posting it up. Oh, fuck,
shit.
Again, bro?
Fuck.
You know it.
Dude, the Post is like, it's like the new wrestler. You know what I mean? Like, I could throw this on any time. It's like that good.
Well, even most people can't watch The Wrestler again. You and I just enjoy fucked up shit.
I've watched that wrestler movie so many times. I put that up there. I was like, God damn, that's a movie I can almost throw on any time. But no, The Post is one of those ones, like, it was a good movie, but, like, it's one of those ones, like, it's a one-time watch movie. It's like, I like also how in the Post story, like, it almost had, like, very, like, you know, most movies always have this big, like, triumphant win. And it was just like, that movie kind of just end with, like, Meryl Streep. I'm just surprised she didn't come standing out, like, in a car being like, I said yes! I said yes! Yes is the key thing. It's like, you didn't do anything, though. You just signed off on it. That was the only thing you did. Everybody else here fucking worked their ass off. Yes, but I said yes. Did you say yes? Well, no, I asked for yes. No, you didn't say yes. I said yes.
Post.
The Post. Because I just remember that was like,
Post that shit.
That's like shit. You can get famous for not doing any work but just saying yes.
Well, not to totally undercut her, because it is just kind of like, because she took a lot of shit for being, like, I think the first woman running a newspaper outlet, and she was, like, also new to it, so just like, this is gonna bring it down, everyone's job's on the line, so it's like, there's a lot riding on her, and it would have been easy just to say, okay, I'll do what they tell me not to do. But then just like, so I get that aspect, but they do play it off as like, you did it, Meryl! You fucking did it! While fucking like Dave Odenkirk or like Bob Odenkirk and Tom Hanks, everybody else are just trying to be like, oh, we gotta get this done, we gotta don't fuck this up, don't fuck this up!
Yeah, they've been up for like 3 days straight on like cocaine to fucking get this going, and she's been like, oh, let me roll out to my expensive bed. Oh, I'm so glad my husband died and left me everything, or whatever happened there.
Was David Cross in the movie? I don't remember, because Bob Odenkirk was there.
He was. I can't
so
remember.
it was a Mr. Show reunion then.
It might have been.
Because like if David Cross and Bob Odenkirk were in that movie, that means it's a Mr. Show reunion. They could have advertised it on that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's one of those ones. It's like, yeah, overall it's a good movie, but not like one of those ones I got watched a bunch of times. It's like Lincoln. Lincoln's the same way too. Good movie, but it's kind of like a one and done watch movie.
Exactly, and I think the only thing that really made me go see The Post was well, first off, you guys want to go see it, like, I'll tag along, and then Spielberg.
Yeah,
but I feel like
you're not going to give Spielberg some money, like. Shit, he could be on the street by tomorrow if you're not here to show up to give Steven money. If anybody needs my money, Steven needs my money.
Steven Spielberg needs all the money. Yes, no. This one right here, Ready Player One. I'll say that I thought it did a good job of like. Because one of my biggest complaints about the book was it just relied way too much on pop culture shit. Where this one, it's there, but a lot of the characters and a lot of locations and a lot of things about it have their own identity that kind of support the movie.
Mm-hmm. And no, I totally agree there too. It's like that is sort of how the movie is it's structured like just a good like movie that's fun and it's got cool stuff and it's got good values and good morals and everything like that in it. You know. I mean, it does fall, like, extremely heavy on, like, stereotypes, but almost does stereotypes in a good way. I mean, you got Captain Republican, who's pretty much just the evil business guy's like, oh, I just have to have it so I can have all the power in the world. But even still, it works, you know what I mean? It's, you know, there's never the part where it's like, yes, but I love my children, you know? It's, no, he's just evil the whole way through or anything like that. Or there's, like, no redeeming value, so he makes for the perfect villain. That's not a problem. You know, all the characters, even though, like, you know, the Asian guys are, like, happen to be the samurai and the ninja and so on, that's okay. It still works totally fine. And even the nerdy, like, main character stuff, he just seems like your typical, like, here's your nerdy Jewish guy, you know, from Ohio, you know. He's you!
They made him just a little less nerdy in this movie, which was good, but something about him...
He wasn't, like, kick-ass. He was like, oh, my teacher, I gotta go home and jerk off about it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the teacher wasn't even that fucking hot. Like, she wasn't like an ugly lady, but she wasn't...
Yeah.
She's like, really? The girl... You got that one girl sitting next to you, they have a thing for, but you're jerking off the teacher? Okay, whatever. But...
That'd be like that guy when he fucking swings down like the stacked mobile home part, and then he sees like that fat lady like doing her virtual striptease. He's just like fucking jerking out in the window, like they're like a fucking crow sitting on like the railing.
While Van Halen's Jump still plays.
Yeah, might as well jump. It's just like slow motion fucking jerk.
Well,
Close shot on cock.
Well, that's just one of those scenes, like, because that's one of those, like, Spielberg in a lot of his movies has those long, like, tracking shots where the guy is going through the same, like, Post had a lot of that. Post had a lot of scenes. They're walking through, like, a busy office and just people walking in front of the camera. It's going over tables and this and that and coming around the corner. Conversation goes around the other room. That was kind of like the opening shot of this when he's going through the stacks. But I'm just imagining just like the song just stops, right? The song keeps going, but the camera just holds on him and just waits for him to finish. Like, and he just keeps on going. So it's not a big fucking deal. She don't see it. She has the fucking visor on.
I don't know what it is when you start talking about like the Post having like those movable scenes. Like I just started thinking about this. Like imagine the Post, the exact same movie, but imagine if it just had like the kind of shots that are in like Evil Dead. So just very extreme shots for a very non-extreme movie.
Like when it was somebody like on a motorcycle riding through the forest, just moving really fast.
Yeah, just like camera angles from any direction, like like just like it just instead of just having like traditional like camera angles, it's like no, we're gonna have one where it's just like it's a top down view. No, now it's from the bottom. Now it's from the side. Now it's kind of cockeyed. Now it's what I mean, like it's just like real like quick zoom ups, like the Tom I almost said Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks's face.
There's like a part where. It's like doing those weird, crazy angles when the move in like Evil Dead 2 when shit's getting possessed and he's looking around like the deer head's all fucking laughing all demonically. Like Hanks looks at a picture of Nixon, it's all like eyes widened out, jagged teeth.
Well, like literally when I was watching the Post, like the first thing I thought is like, okay, you know when the very end of the movie where it's like it just shows Richard Nixon and it shows it from like literally it's like totally shot like it's a horror movie. It's outside the White House looking in through the window like a point of view, like if Jason was out there like hanging out, and it's just like Richard Nixon with his back turned against it and he's just talking like, oh, we gotta get these fucks. This stupid fucking newspaper is just driving a thorn in my ass. Like, what I really thought what that movie should have done is before it went to credits, it should have had literally the very fast zoom-up Evil Dead camera and just zoom into, like, Richard Nixon, like, break through the window and just have Richard Nixon turn around really quickly with, like, a real scary face, and it just freeze frames on it as the credits roll up.
Just freeze. It just like, freeze frames on that picture as the credits roll.
Yeah, just, like, it freeze frames on it with, like, no music. Just, like, maybe, like, the sound of, like, a typewriter going in the background or something. The Post. Even if you left the rest of the movie 100% normal, you know that's just the one place where you're like, you know what, we're gonna do this. Why not?
There's your fucking Oscar.
The entire movie, we can get him right here.
we can give him this. This is a thank you.
That's the one thing I always like. I've always waiting for those movies that just pull that like at the very last second. They're like, you know what, we were going this like serious direction the whole way through, but fuck it. The very end, we're just gonna have just this tad bit of fun.
Yeah. I'm kind of waiting for that, too. I mean, Spielberg would probably get away with it. I'm going to say he's one of the ones that could probably get away with that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure. But I'm wondering, like... Because this is kind of a harkening back to... Because every so often, he'll do one of these... He'll do, like, you know, here's his movie that's going to get him nominated for an Academy Award. Whether he wins, I don't know. But this is definitely one that's going to get him nominated. And then there's... things like Indiana Jones, and I'm going to say Ready Player One. I know those are two really different movies there, but they have that same sense of adventure. Things like Indiana Jones definitely inspired Ready Player One. And then he does the ones where he's like, okay, here's me trying to do a fun adventure family movie. I'm going to try to, at least. And he does something like BFG, which I haven't seen, but something kind of like that. And there's other ones like that. They're kind of getting by me. But, yeah.
And BFG actually was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed that one. Like, I thought it was kind of fun. And then, like, and there's those. I was just kind of glad because, like, I kind of started thinking about, like, when was the last time that Steven Spielberg really did a sci-fi movie? Was it War of the Worlds? Was that the last one? I can't be it.
I guess Indiana Jones 4.
Before
that, War of the Worlds.
I'm going to say that has a UFO in it, but I'm going to say that still takes place in the 60s and so on.
That's sci-fi. That's fantasy sci-fi.
Well, that's fantasy sci-fi, but I'm more just talking about straight sci-fi.
The setting.
The whole way through. You know what I mean? Like, a movie that takes place in the future that is sci-fi. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
War
something
of the
along
Worlds
the
and
lines of
Minority
Close
Report.
Encounters and, you know, E.T. and so on. You know, I guess E.T.'s a period piece of that time, but.
Well, I mean, I guess in that case you got War of the Worlds and Minority Report.
Oh yeah, Minority Report. In Minority Report, I can't remember which one came first, but they were like literally at the same time. But that might have been the very well. Then I guess he had a spurt there because he also did A1 and he did yeah. So there's like, you know, a handful of like sci-fi, and then like I just feel like he hadn't done one for a long time, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I thought that was kind of cool too. Is it just feels like it's a definite kind of like return to form, even if like Steven just has to kind of show up and just do what you always do, Steven. Oh, okay.
I like how it's just very sheepish, like Halliday himself. Like, I don't know. Okay, we'll see. Like George Lucas is the one. George Lucas is like Simon Pegg saying like, we gotta make some money. We gotta make some money. Steven Spielberg's like, what's wrong with moving forward? Why can't we just move back, move in reverse, just pedal them out? Actually, that's more like George Lucas probably.
Yeah, George Lucas is like, why don't we just enjoy what we like to make? You know what I mean? Like, you know, why don't we just make Star Wars like enjoyable and so on?
Without people judging you for what you make.
Yeah, well, how about we stop this hate speech? You know who else had hate speeches? The Nazis. That's who had it. That's what I consider my fans. I consider them the inbreeds of the Nazis. Yeah, I fucking said it. It's like, fuck you. I fucking hate you all.
I feel like Lucas is at that point though. He's just fucking done. Like he's just like, I make them some fucking. They say make more Star Wars movies. I make them their fucking Star Wars movies, and they get fucking mad. Then I sell to Disney, and they don't like what Disney's doing with it. They get mad at me for selling to Disney. Like, what the fuck you want from me? Come on.
What if it's one of those ones? Okay, you know George Lucas said like he's gonna take some of that money and go make his own fucking private movies and shit. What if he just went out and just shot fucking his own Star Wars movies? Like, fuck them. I'm gonna make 7, 8, and 9 just for myself. They can go fuck themselves. This is what I want. This is what George wants. George knows best.
That's gonna be some like Stanley Kubrick shit. Like after he's dead, like,
yeah,
they have a screening in the farm. They have a screening at the ranch like every 10 years or something.
Yeah, it's like oh my god, he made like another 10 Star Wars movies all by himself too, and he acted out every single one of the parts. He did all the special effects himself. It's mind blowing what he did.
And the special effects actually came out looking really good. You can't even tell it's him, but apparently it's just him in a green suit acting everything else out.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd actually like make my day. I really want to see what he's making though. I'm like,
but he doesn't want it released to the public because he's like, they don't fucking deserve it. They're not ready for it. Yeah, fuck them.
Fuck them. That's what I say to the Star Wars fan. Just a bunch of assholes they are. So that's like, you know what? I'm gonna keep making American Graffiti movies. Let's see how much that pisses them off.
How about this? Red Tails 2.
Yeah, you didn't expect that one, did you?
Oh, I got a whole other Willow trilogy planned.
Yeah, it's called The Willow Meets the Red Tail Boys. What, you guys say there's a problem with both black people and dwarves? What the fuck's wrong with you? It's like, George, wait, you know, that's fine. You just realize, like, oh, no, these people, doesn't matter what I make. Whatever it is, they're going to be pissy at it and complain about something or another. I just don't get them. They're stupid. Steven, what's wrong with people?
What's wrong with people? I get why it's just people in general.
They didn't suck in the 70s, but now they suck today.
Like I even wanted to make another Indiana Jones, and they fucking hated that too.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I can't do nothing to make them. Would they want me to just go down like the aisle and suck everyone's dick for free?
Yeah.
And tell them how bad I did a job of that? Fuck them.
Fuck them. Think they're so goddamn special. That's like I feel too. It's just that sad thing.
At
least Steven Spielberg's kind of like, whatever. You know what? I'm Steven. I can keep going. At least I don't have fucking death threats at my door every day.
I like to think that George was like looking out a window saying this shit, not making eye contact with Steven, and Steven was slowly just kind of backing away, and like he was just ranting to himself for the like last 10 minutes. It's like, my best friend Steven, I'm so glad you're here to hear this. I just had to get this out of me, you know?
He just turns and looks, and the fucking just windows open, like breeze coming in, like Batman just left. Oh.
They did it again. Oh. It's okay, I can CG myself some new friends.
Come on, Georges. Let's get together. Let's go race cars.
Let's do it. Come on. Just like George clones walk out. No,
You know what?
Actually,
I'm gonna do. You know what was the greatest idea ever? It was in Steven's movie Close Encounters, when Richard Dreyfuss's family just like gave up on him and just thought he was crazy. He said, "Fuck it," and went to space and never looked back. That's a man right there.
That is the thing as a kid. I was just like, oh wow, he just dumped his family. Like, fuck this family. Fuck my life. I want to make mashed potato. I want to make mountains out of mashed potatoes and not be judged. I'm going to fucking space.
That's what that to me, I consider that like one of the best endings in a movie because I just feel like nobody would do that nowadays. That is so fucking a ballsy of an ending. Just to go, fuck the family. You know what? They were just a bunch of assholes to me anyways. Let's see how they fucking like to live when there's not a fucking provider putting out money and giving mashed potatoes. You know what? I always wanted a fucking alien. I'm gonna go do it. You know why? Because fuck it. When else are you gonna get this opportunity? Shit, look where we live at. Nothing's happened in this town in 300 years. And all of a sudden there's aliens now? Fuck that. I'm going to space.
I like just... the thing about that is... it's been so long since I've seen Close Encounters, but I want to say, like, his wife just gets mad at him just for one thing after another. He just keeps on drawing the mountain. First, he's just drawing the mountain. Like, why are you drawing the mountain? I had a dream. Like, oh, it's good about your dream. He's making mashed potatoes out of the fucking mountain. And then later, isn't he do something like he makes a bunch of clay in the middle of the house because he has it, or isn't it something like that?
Yeah, he does. I think that's the third one. They're like, he's shoveling fucking clay through the window in the house, and she's like, that's it. I'm taking the fucking kids. We're getting out of here. He's like, no. What are you doing? You can't take the kids and stuff like that. And then they just have like this.
I need more help making this mountain out of clay.
Shit, I got jobs for them to do. I need them to be tunneling. See, my hands, they're just not small enough. They're not like a child's hand. Child's hand's perfect for tunneling. It's like a rat.
And get in there. They're perfect for burrowing.
You know, and that's I just like. It's just like the family takes off. It's probably one of those ones where like they probably went to like a hotel and then they're like, you know what? It's 9 o'clock. Let's go back. You know what? Were we a little too hard on Dad? I mean, I know he's crazy and all, but you know how he likes his art and everything like that. And they go back and there's just a note in there that says, "Fuck it, going to space. Suck my fucking white ass."
What if it's not even that? What if it just like, as the aliens are leaving, just like, wait, let's make a quick detour. Take a left over here. Like, fuck you! Drops a ball, like, does like an Independence Day nuke on the fucking house. Go!
Hurry up, speed the fucking shit up. I don't care if you probe me. That's better than what my wife's done for me in the last 5 years. Suck those lights, huh? Boo! Here, give me that fucking keyboard. I'm gonna go to town on this. Did you know that I used to open up for Journey at one point in time?
I tried out for ELP. There's a little bit more technicality for that one.
Yeah, they said I couldn't. Like, I had this idea that I was just gonna wear a sock on my cock. Apparently, it wasn't cool enough for the 70s yet.
We'll get there one day.
Yeah, believe me, I think it's gonna turn around. I think the youth are gonna be into it.
Just like the idea of just him just like fucking nuking his own house. It's like go, fuck, go. The aliens are like, shit, we didn't know what he was gonna fucking do. Why'd you let him at the gun console? Like, I didn't think he'd be able to figure it out. Shit, he's a stupid pink monkey. Look at him. But shit, he was ambitious.
God, we thought we got the brightest minds from this town to kind of join us on our crusade. This guy, I think, has got a mental breakdown going on. I don't know. I think we need to either terminate this guy or put him in a confinement, because shit.
There's the one alien who's just like, no, let's just see where this shit goes. I'm curious. I'm a scientist. I need to know.
You said you wanted an experiment, damn it. This is our experiment.
Like, there's the one part, because they actually take the little kid, and they're just like, God, this kid, because the kid's like, toys! Chasing after the fucking spaceship, and Mom's like, no, not the kid. He comes back like, God, take this fucking thing. It's fucking annoying. Keeps on screaming toys, whatever the fuck that is. Yo, Dreyfus, over here. Yeah, we got space, come on. Yeah. No, it's not a pun. Fuck you. Get on the ship.
Oh. See, that's what Steven needs to make next. He should make a sequel to that movie and just see where the fuck that goes in space.
Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind?
Yeah, just like, in space!
Oh, this one's in space! This alien one is in space, okay.
Well, the other one takes place on Earth. Think about it. Like, aliens come here.
I know, it just sounds funny to me. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, in space! I get what you're saying, but it just sounds kind of redundant.
You know.
Star Wars in space.
Oh, that'd be pretty awesome. Oh no, did you see A Quiet Place? That came out yesterday.
I wanted to. Here's actually something you gotta fucking tell me right here and right now, okay? I wanted to see the movie. I haven't yet. I know what it's all about. Mm-hmm. In the trailer, they show them walking down the little, like, sand path, and this dumb little kid pulls out a fucking little, like, spaceship toy, pushes a button, starts making a noise. Everyone turns like, what the fuck? And then he's holding it up like fucking John Cusack and Say Anything. Like it's a fucking boombox. And then this thing comes fucking running, and I'm just like, please tell me that kid dies right there. Does that kid die?
Hell yeah, I laughed so
fuck
fucking hard.
yes!
That's how the movie starts out. That movie starts out like that. Like,
because I didn't see that kid in the rest of the trailer. I saw the kid right there, and I didn't see it in the rest of the trailer. So I'm like, please tell me that fucking thing is dead.
Well, yeah, because that kid, it's like, it starts off the movie, and like they're like in this, like, they're just out like fucking raiding shops or whatnot and so on. And that kid's like just looking through shit, and they're just trying to be quiet, and they're grabbing supplies and so on. And he grabs this fucking, like, he goes on the top rack and grabs that spaceship. You know, the NASA one, the Challenger.
Yeah.
You know, and then, like, he drops it at first, and then the sister runs by and grabs it, and it's like, shh, be quiet, you can't do that, and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, like, he's bringing it out as they're leaving the shop, and the dad just grabs it and goes like, no. Well, he doesn't say no, but he's like worried, like, no, you fucking put that shit back. What the fuck is wrong with you, you stupid little fuck? And then, like, he puts
sign language is that?
Well, yeah, but he's doing it like a father, but that's like, you could just see his face is like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? I know he's 4 fucking years old, but shit, we've only been out here for like a year and a half. He doesn't fucking get it by now? All our neighbors fucking died. He sat there and watched while eating popcorn, and he still doesn't fucking get it. And then so he puts the fucking, like, ship down and whatnot. They do it like it's a scene like the kid has a fucking, like, thing of, like, C4 in his hands and it's about ready to go off. He, like, grabs it and, like, slowly pulls the batteries out. Like, he's disarming it, and then he takes it and sets it down like, it was the right wires. Good. I don't want one of those Challenger mishaps like in the 80s. We all saw what happened then. We're not having that happen again. And then he sets it down and whatnot. And as they're walking out, the little girl, she gives him back the ship with no batteries in it. And then the kid kind of gets and looks and goes, yeah. She's like, be quiet, don't tell anybody. And then he's like, the little bastard leans over and fucking reaches up and grabs the batteries. You're like, oh, that
stupid little fuck.
Stupid little bastard. Like, come on. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, come on. So it's just like, as they're going out, like, they're walking back home, like, do, making our march back there and stuff. And then the kid pulls out, and they just hear, like, so, you know, like those kind of old-fashioned sounds. And they just, like, everybody turns, like, the fuck does that? And he's, like, fucking, you know, holding it up like you were describing and everything like that. And then it's just, like, all of a sudden, it's just, like, that monster comes running through the woods and fucking grabs him. And then it's, like, a quiet place.
That's awesome. That's a good way to open a movie right there.
And then it's funny because I kept thinking that later on in the movie they kind of go like, it's like, I don't know, they say like months later or days or something. It's like a while
later that day.
Yeah, on a Tuesday. But no. They get to the point and they're like, everybody's like kind of the blame thing where it's like, oh, the sister, she blames herself the whole time. That's why it's her fault. The mom, she's sad, everything about that. And all I start thinking is like the father's like, you know whose fucking fault it is? It's NASA's fault. They would never have made that ship and went into space. We would have never had that toy, which would have never led to my son dying.
Which would never
NASA.
Which would never brought the aliens back. They're aliens,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Or are they okay?
Well, I don't know. That's my only kind of complaint with the movie is they explain absolutely nothing. You literally, like, the amount of information you sort of got in the trailer is like the exact amount of information that's in that movie. That kind of like, I mean, I guess in a sense, if you just want a movie where it's like, let's just be dropped in this world, we have no idea what the fuck's going on, we're just going to kind of watch this sort of like family drama with aliens or monsters or whatever. They look like kind of like something out of Resident Evil. Cool, but like, I just kind of I'm like, how did this happen? What's going on? Like, I felt like I left that movie with, like, way too many questions. Like, they have, like, electricity in it. I'm like, where the fuck's this electricity coming from? You know what I mean? There's no generators. I'm like, who the hell's running that factory still? Like, oh, gotta keep the electricity going. Kids gotta have their radio. Can't let the radio go out now. That's my job is to keep the electricity going. Yes, old Bob here, keeping the electricity. Yep, doing my part, I tell you what.
They just have like a hamster and a wheel underground, just like with a piece of with a cracker hanging in front of it or some shit. Like, oh, surprisingly that works.
Yeah, exactly. Like one of those weird things, but I don't know. It was just like one of those ones. Like that was kind of my thing. It's like I just wanted to know more about these aliens. I wanted to know more, or just monsters in general. I wish they never really showed anybody else, even though you could tell that there was other people. There's like a scene where he's up there and he lights this torch on top of a big old mill of seeds and so on, and you can see across the way. You just see more lights lighting up, but never really got around to any of that stuff. Yeah, that was about the only thing. It was a cool movie, but it was just one of those ones like I almost would care. It's like I could care less about the family drama stuff. I just want to know more about this world because this world just sounds cool. But
No, it was a movie that actually kind of looked good to me. One quick question: is it jam packed with jump scares? I mean, that's not enough to like scare me off from seeing it. But just jump scares annoy me. I'm assuming there's a couple.
It's not jam packed, but it does have a fair share.
Okay, well, is it? I'm assuming something that all hinges on being quiet. It's got to have a jump scare at some point.
Yeah, well, then it's like they have I'm gonna say they're quite often. I think what makes them like louder than normal movies is because it's pretty much you're watching a silent picture for like the most part, and then all of a sudden there'll be like a jump scare, but it's like so loud because the rest of the movie was so quiet.
Like, yeah, I've heard good things about this movie, and I wanted to see it. Apparently, the guy starring in the movie, who I guess was a guy in The Office, he directed this too.
Oh, the main stars, he also directed it too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I just knew it. And then it's got, what's her name in it from? Like,
Naomi,
no, it's not Naomi.
Emily Blunt?
Emily Blunt's in there. And, you know, I always like it. She's one of those kind of people, she always kind of stars in generally trustworthy movies. She's one of those ones, like, she doesn't just show up in anything. So most likely if she's in it, it's going to be something pretty good.
Yeah, I always liked her.
Like Looper, and then also the Tom Cruise one.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow, you know, and so on. So it's like, she's always good stuff. And I enjoyed the movie. I think some people probably liked it a lot more than I did. Like, I just kind of like, I was just kind of felt like, oh, that's it? I kind of just wish there was more. Like, it's a very, very simple movie. And I mean, by that standard, I guess, like, that's kind of cool in its own way. But it's just like one of those ones, like, you present me with such a cool world, and then you don't tell me anything about it. Like, I feel like that kind of bummed me out a little bit. Plus, there's just some kind of goofy stuff that happens in the movie that, like, it's one of those ones like, shit, they've been here for a year and a half, and they just now figured out how to do this? You know what I mean? Like, that didn't occur to them, like, this whole time?
Of just, like, the monster's weakness or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Like, the weakness felt very obvious. It's like, oh, and you just figured that out, like, the very, very end of the movie, but...
Is it as something like, I'm just taking a shot in the dark here. Is it as something like, oh, the reason why they don't like sound is because they're really weak to sound, so that's something they try to stomp out or some shit like that?
Well, yeah, because they just have very overly sensitive ears, and that's how they can detect almost anything. And, yeah, it's like they figure that out, like...
So when you play, like, a supersonic sound or something really loud, it's just like, ah, can't do it, can't do it.
Yeah, like a high-pitched frequency, and it just bothers them and so on, you know, almost like an extreme dog whistle.
I don't know, that seems, I mean, I'm just guessing here. I was already just kind of guessing, like, that's probably a weakness, because I was just thinking, like, well, these things have good hearing. That's Daredevil's weakness, so...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, and it's not like this is, like, day one or week one. It's like, no, they've been there for, like, 485 days or something like that. So that, to me, felt kind of like, okay, after, like, over a year, that still hasn't crossed you. I mean, hell, the father sits down, like, he's Ozymandias of, like, the radios. I mean, like, literally, he's just got this room just with, like, monitors and cameras and radios and everything just circled around it. And he's like, tells kids, like, don't you ever go down there. Don't you go down there. But he says it in sign language.
I'm guessing there are moments where they actually stop and do talk for a minute.
There's, like, one moment where they, like, kind of... There's, like, two parts. There's, like, one, they go to, like, a waterfall. And this kid, like... The other kid, he just has, like... At first, they're, like, you know, like, he's, like, up there, like, learning with his mom. And his dad's like, boy, you get down here. So he doesn't say that. But that's, like, almost the attitude. He's like, we're going to teach you to be a man. We're going to go hunting and fishing and stuff like that. And run around naked in the woods. Because that's what men do. And the kid just has this look. He looks at his mom like his dad's going to take him out. Do I have to? Like, beyond that. Not do I have to. Like, dad's going to take me and show me, like, what prison rape's like. Like, just has this scare that, like...
Just prepare you for what you're in for.
He's like, yeah, you know, if you ever get arrested, it's good to know. Just get it out of the way. So I hired old Tom here to... You know, remember old Tom? And then this is now his new job. He used to be a construction worker, but now he just kind of, like... He's like the prison rape test guy, you know what I mean? Just so you have an idea, like, when you finally go there. Because, you know what? These aliens, God, if they capture you, you don't know what they're going to do to you, you know?
He's saying all this in sign language.
He's like, oh, in sign language.
I think we get to old Bob. He's just like, I work for back rubs and peanut butter cups.
Yeah. You got some of them Reese's peanut butter cups. I'm like E.T. It's like, just get high.
Oh, shit. Anybody try that with these aliens?
Oh, God. Like, you know what? That's my goal, is to fuck one of them.
Yeah.
You know, shit, like, really, ambition started, after a year of this stuff, ambition really goes out the window, and I just don't care. Whatever it is, I'm gonna fuck it, and, you know. Old Tom here, you know.
If we're
They
gonna
call it
crawl.
Uncle Tom's cabin. I mean, I don't mean that in, like, in the book sense, like the 1800s. It's just, you know, I'm Tom. I have an old cabin.
And I'm an uncle.
And, you know, I'm not high. I'm not one of those, like, anti-black people or anything like that, like the guy in the book or anything. You know, I'm not turning anybody in. It's just, yeah, I just have to be Uncle Tom, and I have a cabin, and I like to, you know, eat Reese's peanut butter cups. Shit.
And fuck.
And fuck, you know, it's just that time period and whatnot, you know. Just like, Dad, no, Dad, don't take me to him. But this kid just has, like, you could just tell that, like, this is like, it just reminded me of almost like the old-fashioned, like, way, because, like, almost like 100 years ago, it's like, there's like that father's like, okay, son, you know, it's your 6th birthday. You're going to learn how to hunt and kill and carve an animal out. And he's like, but Daddy, I just want to stay here with my poems. Like, like, Daddy, I love the poems. It's the greatest thing ever. It's just like, like, it's just gonna get like this horrible like migraine coming on.
It's one of these things like, boy, what you doing reading? You know, that's the sissy work. Come on, yeah. I want you. It's time to be a man and kill something. Like, just pulls his dog. Like, why do you think I had you raise this pig? I need you to look it in the eye when you bring an axe down to its neck. You ever wonder what we've been eating? We ate Parker's mom. What? I thought you said she was an orphan. No, you've been eating her. Yeah. He's like, he oddly enough, like, enjoys, like, just destroying his son's dreams in some way. Like, now you look him in the eye while I do this, just brings up down the axe.
Yeah,
you respect where the food comes from.
Well, it's funny because there's a part 2 where he's like, I don't want to go, Daddy, and stuff. And then, like, the sister comes by and she's like, I'll fucking go. Fuck that kid. I'll do it. Like, you know, give me that fucking gun. I'll shove it up anything. Or they don't have guns because they don't want to make noise. Give me that fucking, like, you know, fishing pole. And he's like, nah, you stay here with Mom. You know, this is man time. You go do your woman work. He doesn't say that, but that's almost like how it came across. It's like, it really what it is because the girl's, she's deaf. So it's like, I don't want to take a fucking deaf person out there. You know what I mean? Like, and so on. But it's just so funny. It's like, Daddy, why didn't you take sister? It's like, I don't know, maybe one of these days I will, but, you know, man time. You can't run through the woods naked with your own daughter. That's fucking weird, but you can do it with your son.
It's a bonding experience.
God damn, that's what my father did, and his father, and his great-grandfather before him.
I'm guessing that's what our cave people did before us, too.
Yeah, and we'll go under a waterfall and slap dicks together and see who gets hard first and call him a fag. Daddy, that's so weird. It's like, shit, when the whole world's destroyed, what is not? You know, everything's normal now. You know what's weird is a fucking alien out there who, if you step on a branch, comes and kills you. That's fucking weird. Everything else is just normal.
There's a time where a boy would just jump into a pile of leaves and play around. Granted, we knocked the kid and we beat the shit out of that kid and call him queer in the process, but fuck.
There's a game called Smear the Queer. You know what? We were trying to get it on.
It was a different time. That's all I'm saying.
You know, not like any of us were against gays or anything like that. It had nothing to do with that. Queer, it just meant something different back in the day. That's just all I'm saying. Just like signing this the whole time, like this long-ass speech with just subtitles galore.
Long, like, same shot.
You're like, damn, that's the actor there. Look how much, like, sign language he had to learn for this movie.
He's even, like, the kid's sign language is even overlapping as they cut each other off.
Exactly. Just keeps going on and so on. But I just thought that was funny because the kid, like, literally, like the father goes to, like, his, like, fishing traps and pulls him out of the river, and then he, like, pulls the fish over, and the kid, like, I was like, the fish, like, it almost just reminded me, like, he drops the fish, and it's just like, surprised that the fucking father said, like, just beat that kid just right there, just over and over, like, you don't fucking waste dinner.
He dropped the fish back into the water after they caught it?
Yeah, because because this kid is, like, literally, like...
Is he a puss?
When you think about the most Yeah, he's like literally the pussiest kid you can think of. Like the biggest wuss known to mankind. That's who this kid is. Where the girl, on the other hand, is like, I'll take that fish and I'll cut its head off and drink its blood. Yeah.
Now, I'll do it looking you in the eye, Dad.
Dude, you looking in the eye, Dad? What? What's wrong with you, Dad? Think you're so goddamn special being a man? You think you're a man? Well, because I'm a bigger man. Like a woman. More syllables.
Just still hands, like sign language convention.
Yeah, I know. It just keeps going on and so.
4 syllables.
You know what I mean? It's just it keeps going. See, this is like how this movie is. Like, really, I feel like I've talked about way more story than there actually is in this movie. Like, this movie, I mean, it's granted it's only like maybe a little bit over an hour and a half, and there's really not like a whole lot of story in it. Like, I feel like I need to add all this backstory in here because clearly it's just not shown.
Well, it's like an art house horror film, kind of.
I guess you would say it's kind of like that.
Well, it's like I almost went to go see that movie. It Comes at Night, just because that was a really creepy trailer. And then someone says, "There's no monster." Like, what? There's no monster? It's called It Comes at Night. Like, it's just a cool name. What it's really about is these people all holed up in a cabin. There's disease and going around, and people just get. So is it a zombie movie? No, it's not a zombie movie.
Is that the movie It Follows?
No, It Comes at Night.
Oh, okay, and that sounds just like that movie It Follows has like that same premise sort of.
Well, no, but it's like there's this disease, and the disease it doesn't. Then like I was just about to say, do they become zombies? Like no, they just get sick and they die, and then people get worried about who has it, who doesn't have it, and things go bad quickly. And like that does not fit the name, and it does not fit the poster, which is a dog standing on a porch, and like. It pitch black at night, barking out, and just as it comes at night, like, oh, that's gonna be some creepy ass shit. This actually sounds like what that movie would have been about, or what the movie with the title would have been.
Yeah, I know that's kind of seemed like a misleading kind of thing there. You know, it's one of those like I think if you just like change your advertising campaign around and so on. But
yeah, because I almost saw that movie just off that name. Like, well, that's a creepy ass name. I want to see that. Then I'm like, oh, it's not even. Fuck that. Okay.
No, A Quiet Place is definitely worth seeing. I definitely will say that. I don't think it's an amazing movie, but I think it's just like it's still cool. I just think it's like, as I said, I just wish it explained more and so on. I don't know. And I really did find a lot of stuff in the movie funny though. It was like one of those movies that was like not supposed to be funny whatsoever, but I found a lot of funny stuff in that movie. Mainly because maybe because the movie's silent, so in my head I just started writing lines inside like what the characters would be thinking.
Their own internal monologue.
Yeah, exactly, and that started making it funnier as the movie went on because I started laughing at a bunch of parts that I know that nobody else in the theater was laughing at. So.
Well, I'm now kind of one of the. You and me are always the guys laughing when no one else is supposed to be laughing. When I went to go see Pacific Rim 2, there's the part where like the girl is having a flashback to her family dying, and just this foot comes down and stomps on the fucking family. I was the only one in the theater just busting up laughing for like 2 minutes. Like everyone, and then since I'm the only one laughing, and I get people starting to turn and look at me, it just makes me laugh a little more because like I realize like what's wrong with this fucking psycho laughing at his family dying.
I always loved that. I remember like that was like. I always just think of like one of the biggest laughs of all time was in like Return of the King, and I remember just me and Cisco were like dying laughing at the part where like the one son gets lit on fire, and then he stands up and just starts running, and then he jumps off that really long fall down there. And I remember that just being like, it was like three things. It was like, one, they lit him on fire, and he stood up. That was already hilarious enough. Then he runs down a long hall. Like, I did not expect that. And then he jumps off, like, the biggest building known to mankind in that world. And we were laughing so hard that, like, there was even other parts that came up that made us, like, keep laughing. I remember RJ, our buddy, like, leans over, he's like, dude, it's not that fucking funny. I was like, it's pretty fucking funny, man. Like, just can't, like, then I just remember because, like, it got topped off because I almost want to say the next scene after that was, like, the one where Smeagol's all like, the fat one will take it. So it was like, I couldn't, like, for, like, 10 plus minutes, like, I just could not stop laughing during that, you know?
That's where the fat one will take it. That's where everyone looks, to the fat guy in the group to see if he has the popcorn.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, he's eating onion rings for some reason. Hey, it was Lord of the Rings. They gave him out special. Oh, but
that seems like a missed opportunity for Regal.
It really does. You could have like get your own Lord of the Rings onion rings.
The one
Be the Fellowship of the Ring.
The one onion ring to rule them all.
For each one of your friends. But since we all know you're a bunch of fat fucks, you're gonna have to get your own. Believe me, Regal knows their audience. Regal knows the audience.
Things like we shouldn't. I'm not sure if we should talk down to I'm not sure if we should talk down to our audience like that. Fuck them. They're a bunch of fat fucks. They'll get it regardless.
Where are they gonna go? Where else are they gonna fucking go? Think about it. Like this day and age, you don't got choices of movie theaters to go to. You got one in your town. You're lucky if you got two. You know what I mean? What? Unless you live in New York or Los Angeles, the choices just aren't there. We got them by the balls, goddammit. Mr. Regal knows. Mr. AMC knows.
I just like to imagine just the fucking this trailer, this ad for our onion rings. Get your free onion rings. Seems a little aggressive. Like we're giving them free onion rings. You're gonna call them a fat fuck, but they're not gonna turn that down. Like, hey, you want your free onion rings? Oh yeah, of course you do, you fat fuck. Here you go. Oh, hey, want more? They're free. Sure. Here you go, fatty. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, they're unlimited. You want some more, you fat fucking slob? Oh, I do like onion rings.
Well.
Not gonna hit me when a man giving you free food, will you fat, stupid piece of shit?
Now go enjoy your Nerd Fest movie. Here's the thing. I know what the end of the movie is. Sam and Frodo fuck. Get over it.
It's implied heavily.
It's implied. Shit, they're gonna show it. That's why if you wait past the credits, they actually show it. Just fucking raw 5 minutes. No music or anything. Who do you think's the catcher? You want some more onion rings? Well, yeah, I'm kind of running low. Of course you're running low, you fat fuck.
Here, tell you what. I'm just going to give you a fucking 5-gallon bucket, and when that inevitably runs out, come on back. I'll be waiting here for you. Just for you.
I love just like the idea of this like meeting of like all like the big wigs. Like I just picture like the misters of like the movie like business. It's like Mr. Galaxy, Mr. AMC, Mr. Regal, like all these guys together, Mr. Century, like together in one like conference. Like, how can we make fun of the nerds this week?
Well, we can put a big, long marathon of all these stupid fucking nerd movies for Avengers, and then we give him a piece of fucking plastic, says, look at me, I'm a stupid asshole that sat in a theater for 3 fucking days of his life.
Because I don't got a fucking real job.
Fuck them. And guess what? They'll sit through it for this fucking piece of plastic. Why? Because for some reason that makes them fucking proud. Don't worry, we'll serve them a 4-course meal. Eat each hour because they're a bunch of fat fucking slobs. What else the fuck they gonna do?
See, they call it something for their trophy room. When I was back in my day, a trophy room meant you had the heads of your enemies on there. Not just a bunch of Han Solo action figures that happen to have variant prints on them, whatever that fucking means. A trophy room is because you killed something. Whether that be an antelope, an elephant, or some guy from Vietnam, you put his head on the wall, goddamn.
And if you really hate him, you put his head in the fucking bathroom so you can fuck it at least once a day. Just so he knows his place in the world.
Old Po Yang up there in my wall in my bathroom, he has to smell my shit every day. I go, how do you like that, Yang? I don't know if that's his real name. I kind of made it up after I killed him.
Yeah, he's still missing his ear when he's hung up there.
But, Vietnam, that's how I got my job at AMC. That's how you get things started.
You gotta be very confrontational with people.
You wouldn't believe it.
You make the first move.
Yeah. Just like these just terrible guys just all sitting around. Fucking. I just love the onion ring guy. Like, oh, hey, I don't mean to bother your meeting, but you got any more of those free onion rings? Look, there's one of them right there. Right there. You hired one of them? Oh, yeah. I can make fun of them every single day. Non-stop laughs.
Watch this. Just drop it on the ground. Pick it up. I said fucking pick it up.
Who needs an Adam Sandler movie when you got this fucker here? Am I right?
I think it's funny. Oh, here, watch this. Watch this. Goes up to the second level. Come up these stairs and get it. Oh, come on.
Stairs is my only weakness.
How much do you want these fucking onion rings? Tell you what, I'll leave 1 onion ring per stair. I'll be like E.T. chasing Reese's Pieces. Come on.
Shit, guys, we gotta get together and make some more of these Lord of the Rings movies because you know what? This is like the best idea we've ever had.
You know, we're losing lots of fucking money on this. It's fucking worth it, bro.
Yeah, it's worth it for the joke. You know what I mean? That's the one thing. My father always said, never let a good joke get wasted by money.
He's like, yeah, you know what, besides, we're already loaded as fuck. We each got 3 mansions made out of cocaine. I only have 1. Who let this fuck in the room?
Get your poor fucking ass out of here. 1 mansion, motherfucker.
1 cocaine mansion.
Yeah, exactly. That's not even good enough. Scarface would disapprove of your mansion. Oh, yeah. There's fun to be had. Movies to be seen. That's probably a good place to wrap it all up at.
Yeah, I agreed. Hopefully, we'll next episode we might be doing a retrospect. We might have this one gentleman coming on. We'll see what happens, but don't want to say any names until it actually does happen. So
if we don't have that one gentleman, we'll have some other 2 gentlemen come on. If we don't have those 2 gentlemen, we'll have somebody else. There's almost like a line of people to like get on the show.
The possibilities are endless.
Exactly,
we'll figure it out.
But till then, make sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more comics, podcasts, animation videos, and more. Check out Pizza Boys, the comic. The graphic novel is out now, so you can find that on, at least at the moment, Amazon, and then eventually Comixology and Comix Central. I don't know what's wrong right there. I almost say Comics Wellspring. That's where I printed it from. Too many comics names, many places. But yeah, check out Pizza Boys, graphic novel. It's out. It's awesome. And yeah, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
I'll see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Be sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics, animations, videos, and a whole lot more. You can easily support the show by buying something from one of our Amazon links on the website or in the show's description itself. Doesn't cost you a penny, but every single thing you buy from there just by using that link to take you to Amazon helps us out a bit. You can also really help the show out, though, by spreading the word the good old-fashioned way. And rate and review us on all the sites that you find this podcast. Anything from iTunes to Podbean to Newgrounds, YouTube, you name it. Any little bit helps. Give a sub and share it to your friends, family, any jamoke you see out on the street. You let them know about Old Man Orange podcast. And be sure to check out the Old Man Orange comic book Pizza Boys on both Amazon and Comixology. Till then, we'll see you some other time.